Welcome in everyone, and thank you for joining us today. This is our last YouTube channel video of 2015, welcoming in 2016. My name is Charlie Castro. I want to thank you for being on with us today. As many of you know, I work with Philip Folks, and we've been doing these YouTube channel videos for about 6 weeks now. We've had some very good success with it. Today we're going to talk about some discounted end of the year property, some new portfolios for sale, and what we see happening in 2016. I've been asked a lot about why we've gone to the visual newsletter versus sending out lists and tapes. So for those that don't know, what sort of occurred in the last 4 to 5 months was there became a sort of a rash of folks taking our tapes that Phil and I would send out, or lists of properties, and then putting their name on it and then rebranding it and sending it out. And it really angered a lot of sellers and buyers as well, to be quite candid, because you didn't know who was in the chain. And so what we decided to do is we were going to make all of our content internet based. Our intent is to have one of these every week, provide on here, all of our inventory. We're going to show you some visuals on our inventory, what it looks like, what the buying protocol is. We're going to have occasional guests in. We're going to do these once a week. If we have a lot of inventory, we may do them twice a week. If we don't have anything new to share, we probably won't do any in any given week. But we have been very fortunate, Phil and myself, to be able to still be very close to many sellers out there who value our buying lists. And so we do get these different lists of properties that we then share and advertise out, and ultimately introduce buyer to seller for them to consummate a trade. The idea is to sort of streamline the process. We've had some success with it. We like doing it this way. We were comfortable now in just doing these YouTube channels versus sending out tapes. You can still acquire the tapes, obviously, by contacting us. But the goal is to introduce weekly inventory as it becomes available. We're going to showcase it. We're going to be showing the actual lists this afternoon. We're going to provide a summary to you. If you want that list, you just have to contact us and request the list. And then, of course, we're going to take a few minutes to vet out the individual or the company contacting us and make sure that the list isn't going to go viral and be sent everywhere or be remarketed or mass marketed. So we'll be doing some of that. We're trying to eliminate sort of wasting people's time. We spent a lot of time this year sending out lists to people who weren't actual buyers or didn't really have actual buyers. So we're going to try to eliminate some of that, make it a little more streamlined. I want to be a hub of information that's going on in the market too. We will share every week what we see going on in the market. We talk to folks that work for REITs and hedge funds and those kinds of folks, and so we'll share some of that information as well on these broadcasts. And we're going to be providing a visual not only for inventory but also for protocol. Every seller is different. They have a different set of protocol they want you to follow. And so we're going to try to give you not only a little bit of information about the inventory that's available, but also what the buyer's protocol is, so that you'll be aware of how you can submit your offer successfully to acquire property. So what do we see in 2016? Well, first of all, 2015 has been a year of change. For most of you that know this by now, early last year, most of the larger buyers started buying notes as opposed to stabilized portfolios or REOs for that matter. The focus became more on notes. They saw that's where the value is at. And so therefore, our buying community shifted tremendously. My biggest client in 2012 to 2014 was Buy Property Direct, and they were a great client. They were a very large buyer. I was working with them in 3 markets: Birmingham, Kansas City, and St. Louis. They were a great client. Still great folks, but they've gone a different direction. That's happened to a lot of folks out there. If you wonder why you see less buying activity amongst those larger buyers, they just saw value in other parts of the markets where that's where they redirected their money to. So 2015 has been an interesting year. We think that prices will continue to rise. The markets are going to continue to rebound. The market is continued to strengthen, and so we see that trend continuing. We said interest rates were going to go up about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and then of course they did. They went up a quarter point. We don't think that has a real effect on the investment inventory space, but it's going to have an effect probably at the top of the market. But for those that are looking to buy investment property, it means very little at this point. You may have already noticed, if you are a broker or you are a seller, that you're seeing more foreign buyers in this market. Most of the foreign buyers, they still see this as the best place to invest their money, plain and simple. This is the safest harbor for offshore investment money, is buying American real estate. You can still get great prices. Yes, prices have gone up, but in certain markets, you can still get great deals. And as a matter of fact, we're still seeing in some markets as good as or better deals than you could even get 2 and 3 years ago. But we continue to see a growth of the foreign investor, particularly Asian and Canadian buyers, is what we're seeing the most of. This is going to continue to be a buyer's market. We believe that. We believe there's so much inventory out there right now that if you're a buyer, this is a very opportunistic time to be in this market. The key is understanding what you're trying to buy, and we say that over and over. We say to folks, look, if I understand what you're looking for, if we don't have it, we can probably find it, because there's a lot of inventory out there right now. There's more inventory than buyers. The prices have stabilized, as I mentioned. If you were buying in Atlanta a year ago, you're getting the same type of prices now. They've gone up a little bit in Atlanta. I probably shouldn't say that about Atlanta, but in most other markets like Kansas City and St. Louis and all of Ohio, certainly all of Alabama still, those markets are still great markets for investment dollars. And those prices have pretty much stabilized. We do believe the broker protocol is going to tighten. What do I mean by that? Both buyers and sellers have recognized that not always when you give somebody a list of property that they actually are direct to who owns them or who is selling them. And the buying and selling community both recognize that. And so we believe that's going to tighten. We've certainly tightened our protocol. For those that talk to me or deal with me on a daily basis, you know that if you bring me a list of properties, I'm going to ask over and over, are you direct? And how can I talk to the direct seller? Because when I take that out to a buyer, I want to make sure that it's deliverable and that we're not dealing through a chain of people. Now, there's nothing wrong with a chain of people as long as everybody's figured out how they're going to get compensated. There's nothing wrong with that, but you have to disclose it, and you have to be able to get the buyer and the seller to the table. The only way you get deals done is bringing buyers and sellers together, and you do that by simply being transparent and by being willing to get out of the way so that the buyer and seller can get a deal done. I read in National Association of Realtors last week. This is a long article, but the one thing there's two things actually that stuck out to me. One was it just basically said we're going to see a return to normal in the real estate market in 2016. And then the other thing it talked about was rents. And rents are going to continue to rise. And why is that good for you, the investor? Because if you're a real estate investor and you're buying rental property, you know that you've got if you buy something at a 12% cap rate, for example, in 2-3 years from now, that cap rate's not going to go down. It's probably going to go up. As rents go up, your ROI is going to go up. Current market conditions, yes, prices have certainly stabilized. We see that pretty much everywhere. There is an anomaly to that, and that's what we'll talk about next. But if you're a large tape or portfolio buyer looking for stabilized, cash-flowing assets, you need to know, and as we've been trying to do now for a number of weeks, we need to manage your expectations on what you can pay for those tapes. For example, even 6 months ago, if you were buying in, let's say, Atlanta or the Florida market, those are pretty similar. You could still buy there at 60 to 70% of fair market value if you were buying in bulk. So if you were buying a bulk tape, 20, 30, 50, 100 properties, yes, you could ask for that 60, 70% of fair market value discount. You could get that. You can't anymore. If you're looking in California or Arizona or Nevada, those prime states where real estate's really gone through the roof, you can't come in at 80% anymore. You can't come in some cases at 90% anymore. In a lot of cases, and especially in Nevada, Arizona, or Las Vegas in particular, and all of California, you're looking at 90 to 100% of fair market value. I point that out because we've had situations in the last 6 months where people have submitted offers on tapes, on bulk buys, and we haven't been able to deliver it because we can't get the seller to come off their number. I'll give you an example. We had one, this just happened this week, true story. We had a small tape, 23 homes in Atlanta. The asking price was $1,200,000. The buyer offered $1,035,000, so it was only $170,000 off the asking price. We submitted the offer. The seller came back at $1,004,000. He actually came back $200,000 more than he originally asked for the tape. Now, why is that happening? Folks with stabilized cash flowing portfolios are not as motivated to sell those types of tapes at deep discounts. Now, that doesn't mean you can't get them in some markets. You can. In Kansas City, St. Louis, and the Ohio market, and the Birmingham market, and those types of markets, you can still get those types of buys. But if you're looking to buy in California, Arizona, Nevada, Atlanta, Florida, New York, New Jersey, you just can't get those states. And one of the reasons you can't is obvious, and that is the replacement cost is so much higher. So it used to be 2-3 years ago, somebody could take a big discount on a tape like that in bulk and then take that money, redeploy it in other property and do the same thing and flip it again. The problem is your replacement cost isn't the same. So if you're sitting on a portfolio of 100 homes in Jacksonville, Florida, and it's cash flowing at 12, 13%, your motivation is not to sell that thing at 60, 70% of fair market value. So I point that out because that part of the market has changed dramatically. You need to know that going into 2016. Unless you're offering in something that's in a state like Ohio or Illinois, or Michigan, those states there you can still get discounts on those stabilized assets. But if you're looking for those prime states, the diamond states, you need to know that those parameters in terms of offering prices have changed. Now, where can you find those deep discounts? It's an REO stock. I've got a ton of REO stock right now. I'll show you some slides here in just a few minutes, and we'll talk about some of the REO stock. There's plenty of that available. There's lots of that inventory out there, and we can customize a list for you. In other words, if you say our market is Columbus, Ohio, and Louisville, Kentucky, we have the ability now to go into our database, separate out by city, state, or even zip code properties that are in your market. So if you say, and this is one of the things we want to do this year to save people time. I'm not just going to send you a tape of 2,000 properties and say, here, cherry pick through this. I'd rather you say, hey, I like these zip codes. I don't like those zip codes. I want to be in this state. I want to be in this county. I want to be in this market. And then what we'll do is we'll customize your tape with just what's in that market. And maybe there's only 10 or maybe there's only 5 or 20 or whatever the number is. But instead of us giving you a long list of stuff, we have the ability now internally here to be able to customize a tape. So if you contact us and say, this is our buying criteria, this is what we're looking to buy, we can then customize a tape for you and send you out a tape of properties that only fit your particular criteria. And the two things we really need to know is vacant or occupied, and then the area. If we know the area and vacant or occupied, we can search by that. Okay, if you got a piece of paper and a pencil handy, the next slides we're going to show you is going to be the inventory that we have. Some of this is new, so you want to reference the number. We put a number on all these lists now, so we know which one you're talking about. So if you call in and say, hey, we're looking for the Florida notes, we'd rather you say we want tape number 601. So this is tape 601. This is 25 non-performing notes in Florida. The unpaid balance is $2.8 million. The value is about 4. The acceptable bid they're saying is 75% of unpaid balance, which is 2.1. We think they'll come off that a little bit. There's a little bit of play there for a bulk offer. If you cherry pick it, they're not going to come off that price. They're going to be pretty close to 70 to 75% of that unpaid balance if you cherry pick it. If you only buy 1 or 2, they're definitely going to stick to their price. But this is available. I just spoke to the broker this morning. It's tape number 601. It's being offered through a small real estate investment trust down in Florida. It's, again, tape number 601, 25 non-performing notes in Florida. Now, Detroit. I doubled up here on my Detroit slides today, so forgive me as we get through these. There's going to be a few here that are doubled up on. But tape number 602 is Detroit. If you're looking for Detroit, we have a ton in Detroit right now. I got this from a seller this past week. He actually, interesting story, owns a construction company in Detroit, was actually one of the largest sellers to one of the largest buyers of single-family homes in America until he stopped buying in Detroit about 2 months ago. And so he's got a whole bunch of inventory. He's got a full construction team. He can offer everything from inventory to rehab to property management because he was doing it all for this fund. So he's got infrastructure to handle the entire, from buying it to rehabbing it to putting a tenant into it and then having it managed. Pricing is anywhere from the high side of $50,000, which is tenant occupied, cash flowing, brick homes, newly renovated, to the 5,000, 7,000, all the way down to, I think there's some in Detroit all the way down to $1,000. So if you say to us, tape number 602, we want Detroit, you tell us whether you want vacant or occupied, you tell us whether you want particular zip codes you like or don't like, and what price points you're looking at. We can customize those tapes. So there's several different sellers down there that we're working with right now, but there's a lot of inventory right now, and these are great to flip. If you're a flipper looking to buy something for $3,000 or $4,000, all these prices, by the way, are flexible. All these sellers have flexibility in these prices. But if you tell us what you're looking for, we can customize a tape for you. And again, these are great to pick up, inexpensively, and then just turn around, just mark them up, and just do a flip. Tape number 603 came to us this week from a small real estate investment trust. These are 50 homes in Jacksonville, Florida. These are all occupied. These are all stabilized. There's no deed issues. This is a pretty nice tape. They were looking for 70 to 80% of fair market value. As we talked about a few slides ago, you're not going to get these types of tapes anymore at 60%. These are fully occupied. They're looking to sell as a package, but there's some flexibility on cherry picking if you pick more than a few. I did ask on a bulk buy if they would go down to 70% of fair market value, and they said they would. on a 70% of fair market value, they would let those go on a bulk buy. That's tape number 603, Jacksonville, Florida. Just acquired that this week from a real estate investment trust. Now, California REOs, as you know, is hard to get. We don't get them very often. We did get some last week. We have offers on two, and they're full price offers. That's on no, that's not true. It's the Garnett Lane in Huntington Beach and the Nevada in El Monte duplex. We have full price offers on both of those. The fees are not 3%. The fees are 6%. There's 3% going to the selling broker. And I know, folks, that's a hefty fee, but in California, when I first went back to the broker and said, these are all off market, by the way. None of these are on the market. These are private sellers. But when I asked about fees, they said, nope, 3% is going to the seller's broker. And he's not a broker, actually. He's a marketing agent in Southern California that's marketing these for this particular seller. But California REOs, contact us for the tape on these. We are taking offers on those. I mentioned Detroit already. I'm not going to do it again. You get the idea. We got a lot in Detroit. These are down as little as $17.50 a door. I think I have about 100 of those. So we have a whole bunch of people marketing property in Detroit right now. Now, I talked earlier about stabilized tapes and how they are difficult to buy at great value. This tape, however, is a tape that we market every month. One group owns the entire tape. They buy and sell REOs each month. That's their business model. This month they had 1,700 national REOs. Great tape if you're looking to buy in markets like Iowa or Kentucky or North Dakota or places like that you don't see a lot of REO inventory. This is a great source, and I love dealing with these folks. Their protocol is really simple. You contact us, you tell us what you're looking for, where you're looking for it at. We then customize you a tape. There's no sense me sending you 1,700 REOs. If you're not looking in Detroit or you're not looking in Pennsylvania or Indiana, you don't need all that stuff. And it's all jumbled together, as you see on the screen here. So contact us, tell us what your market is. We customize you a tape. You then reply to us just simply via email that you're interested in these 3 properties, for example. We can then send you the lockbox code. You can get access to the property. What I love about this group is there's always flexibility on price. You have to be sensible on what you offer. You certainly don't want to go in at their cash price and offer 20%. I have had that happen. But you can go in there at 50, 60% on these. These are properties that are well below market value already, that are priced well below market value. They were bought through a variety of avenues like tax sales, short sales, bought from the banks. So the seller on this has gotten some really sweet deals, which means you can get some really sweet deals. That's tape number 607. We get a new tape of these every month. We'll have a new one early next week that we can distribute to you at that point. Okay, now if you're looking for portfolios, we've got a number of portfolios. Now these means when I say portfolios, that means these sellers will only sell in bulk. They're not going to let you cherry pick it. 77 in Atlanta, tape number 608. We got 63 in the southern part of Georgia, tape number 609. That one there is really discounted. That's a very good buy on that tape there. I already mentioned Detroit. I'm not going to mention that. If you call us about Detroit, tell us where you're looking for, what price points, what parts of town, vacant or occupied. We can send you a bunch of stuff. The Jacksonville 99 is now under contract. I should have taken that off there. That was being sold at $22,000 a door. Great opportunity there. I've got one coming up, another one in Jacksonville that we just picked up. Arizona 300. Now this is a $52 to $56 million tape portfolio, I should say. This is a stabilized, cash flowing Canadian investor. Did a beautiful job. These are B quality properties. He's not coming off that price. He was originally at about $72 million. Took it down to about 56. Well, actually, that's not true. He took it down to 65, and at 65, he was at about a 5 cap, a little under a 5 cap. So at 52 to 56, it's going to be right around a 6 cap, which on a performing portfolio, I think the cash flow is something like $900,000 a month. This is a very high performing tape. Now, can't give you any detail on this at all without signing an NDA. Got to have an NDA. That's the demand by the seller. We were given this by a hedge fund who entrusted us with it. Nobody else has this tape. It's indigenous to us, but we cannot share that without a signed NDA. And I would warn you as well that on that tape there that they will ask almost immediately for a POF. So if you can't provide a POF, I just wouldn't waste your time with that one because it won't go very far. We've still got the 26 in Nevada, or excuse me, in Las Vegas. Those are completely off market as well. I cannot disclose that tape. You have to contact us. They don't even want us to give a summary out. They just said there's 26 in and around Vegas. contact us. We can give you the detail on that. You'll have to acquire that under an NDA as well. We specialed this last week. I want to leave it up here because this was about $14,000 under what they were originally asking for it, and it's right at their costs. This is about what they paid for this property. $38,000, has a 712 tenant, a Section 8 tenant that's taped their property number 613. This is owned by 3D Properties. We've done tons with 3D Properties. Some of our favorite people down in Birmingham, and some of the better folks that do rehab and remodel. They have their own construction crews that do all this work themselves. It's fully rehabbed inside and out, renting with a Section 8 tenant at 712. I didn't do the cap on that, but I think the cap's about 15. Okay, now we just got these. I just actually finalized these this morning, so it's the last slide in my list. 69, these are tax deeds, Jacksonville, Florida. $3,700,000 is the acceptable, $3,700,000 is the value. The bid is a third of that. So $1,300,000 is the bid price. It's about $18,000 a door. They would sell those in small packages if you want to cherry pick this. There's 69 of them. They prefer to sell them all, and you can get a great deal on them. If you know anybody in Jacksonville, Florida, looking for some real steals down there, this tape here has got some really good values on it. And again, I think you can cherry pick it. You couldn't buy one, but if you were looking to buy 5 to 10, you could probably do that and get away with it. But these are some really nice properties. You have to do your own due diligence on these. They're not going to provide due diligence for you. They're going to basically give you the addresses and say go take a look at them and make an offer. So that's how those will fly. Okay, that is our last YouTube channel broadcast for 2015. I want to wish everybody a happy new year, prosperous 2016 to everybody. My contact number is up here. If you would like to get a custom-made list, you can contact Matt Castro at matt.castro91@gmail.com. Matt is my son, if you're curious, and he's also my partner. And so contact Matt, and he can get you a customized. You don't even have to go through me. If you've got areas you're looking for, if you've got certain kinds of inventory you're looking for, Matt does this all day long. People call him up and say, I'm looking for, Bowling Green, Kentucky, and what do you got? Matt will go into the system, pull out what we've got in those markets, and send it over to you. So anyway, everybody, have a blessed new year. Thanks for joining us on our YouTube broadcast. We look forward to seeing you next year. And if you got any questions, you got our numbers up here. We look forward to talking to you soon.